Hello, my dear friends. There are mornings when you wake up and can't quite explain what's going on inside your heart. It's not sadness, but it's not joy either. It's just a quiet stillness, a space between sleep and motion, where your soul lingers before the day begins. And in that stillness, there's a whisper, soft and sacred, as if heaven leans close and reminds you, you are loved. Before you do anything today, before you speak, before you decide who you need to be, you are already loved. You do not have to be ready. You do not have to feel strong. You do not need to prove your worth before sunrise. God's love is not waiting at the finish line of your tasks. It is already wrapped around you at the starting point. While the world may require you to perform, to succeed, to impress, His love simply invites you to receive, to rest, to return, to begin not with effort, but with grace. And this is where love starts, not with how much you can give, but how much you are willing to receive. Not with how perfectly you show up for others, but how honestly you show up to God, exactly as you are, messy, incomplete, tired, even uninterested, sometimes, but still held, still seen, still chosen, still known, still deeply, faithfully, endlessly loved. Let that truth sink into your bones this morning. Let it be the anchor beneath your feet. You are not a project God is trying to fix. You are not a problem He's trying to solve. You are a beloved child He longs to walk with. That changes how this day begins. That changes how you breathe, how you carry your heart, how you speak to others, and how you speak to yourself. You don't have to start today with a list of how to love better. You don't have to worry whether you'll have enough kindness or enough patience for the people who will test you. Because love doesn't originate in you. It begins in Him, and He is with you. He is not a distant observer hoping you get it right today. He is the one who whispers your name in the silence, who has been loving you long before this moment, who will keep loving you when this day ends. So breathe, not to rush into productivity, but to come back to presence. Breathe, not to prove you're okay, but to remember that you're not alone. Breathe, not to gear up for a battle, but to be reminded that you are held by the God who is love Himself. His love is not fragile. It is not moody. It is not here today and gone tomorrow. It is steadfast. It is true. It is eternal. And He chose you, not the future version of you, not the more spiritual, more kind, more patient version. He chose you right now, as you are, and He calls you beloved. That is your name before anything else. Before you are a parent, a spouse, a friend, a co-worker, a dreamer, or a burden bearer, you are beloved. You are one He delights in. You are one He died for. And this morning, you are one He wants to walk with, gently, intimately, faithfully. So if today feels like too much, that's okay. You don't have to carry it all. You're not meant to. That's what love does. It shares the weight. That's what Jesus does. He bears the burdens you don't know how to name. He meets you in the middle of uncertainty and says, "You don't need all the answers. You just need me." Let your love today begin in His love. Let your strength today begin in His gentleness. Let your patience today begin in His mercy. Let your forgiveness today begin in His grace. You cannot pour out what you have not received. So before you give anything to this world, let Him fill you. Let Him speak to your heart what you have always needed to hear. You are my beloved. I see you, I know you, I love you, and I am here. You don't need to earn what has already been given. You don't need to perform to be seen. This world may tell you that love is transactional, that worth must be proven, that value must be earned, but that is not the way of God. He loved you when you had nothing to offer. He loved you when your heart was tired, and your prayers felt empty, and your faith was full of doubt. He loved you not because you had it all together, but because He is love, and He cannot stop being who He is. So don't begin this day by striving. Begin by receiving. Let love be your first breath. Not worry. Let grace be your first step. Not guilt. Let God's voice be the first voice you listen to, not your own thoughts. Not yesterday's regrets, not tomorrow's pressure. His voice is steady, like living water flowing through your soul, saying, I am with you. I have called you by name. You are mine, and in that truth, you will find rest. You will find a love that doesn't leave when you fail, a love that doesn't grow cold when you fall short, a love that doesn't change based on your performance. You will find a Savior who walks beside you, not because you earned Him, but because He chose to be Emmanuel, God with us. And He is with you now. Before you love anyone today, before you show up for your family, your co-workers, your friends, let God show up for you. Let Him love you first. Let Him remind you that you are more than the sum of your responsibilities. You are not defined by your checklist or your mistakes or your image. You are defined by the cross, by a love that stretched wide its arms and said, It is finished, and because it is finished, you are free. Free to begin today not as someone desperate for love, but as someone deeply filled by it. You can walk into your day with an open heart, not because the day is perfect, but because your identity is secure. You are not starting from empty. You are starting from beloved, and that changes everything. Not everything today needs to happen quickly. Not every response needs to be fast. Not every emotion needs to be resolved. You don't have to rush to fix, to speak, to understand, or to decide. Some of the holiest moments in life come not in the hurry, but in the pause, not in controlling the outcome, but in patiently trusting the process. And today, maybe what you need most is not a solution, but the strength to wait, to breathe, to trust, and to love patiently. Love is patient. That's how the scripture begins in 1 Corinthians chapter 13. Before it is anything else, kind, hopeful, enduring. Love is patient. Why? Because patience is the space where grace breathes. Patience is the room where understanding grows. Patience is how heaven teaches you to love like Jesus, slowly, gently, with time. When God looks at you, He sees someone in progress. He doesn't demand instant maturity. He doesn't expect flawless faith. He knows your story. He knows the moments that wounded you, the fears you carry, the lessons you're still learning. And yet, He is patient, infinitely patient. Every morning you wake up, His mercy is still new. Every step you take, He walks at your pace. Not ahead, not behind, with you. So why do you expect yourself to be faster than grace? Why do you pressure yourself to have it all together by now? Today, you are invited to walk slower, to speak slower, to love slower, to respond with calm instead of urgency, to extend to yourself the same patience God gives you every moment. You are still growing, and that is holy. There will be people today who test your limits. People who misunderstand you. People who speak with sharpness, or act without thought, or carry pain that spills into your peace. And when they do, you will have a choice: to react or to love. And love chooses patience. Love pauses before judgment. Love listens longer than it wants to. Love stays when it's easier to walk away. But how can you love patiently when your heart is tired? How can you be gentle when your nerves are frayed and your schedule is packed and no one seems to notice how much you're holding? You don't have to manufacture patience. You only need to return to the one who is patient with you. He is the vine. You are the branch. Stay with him, remain in him, and his patience will flow through you in ways you couldn't force on your own. So if someone is late, pause. If someone interrupts, breathe. If someone fails you, forgive slowly and sincerely. These are not weaknesses. These are sacred acts of love. This is where the Spirit works in you, not just in big gestures, but in quiet moments of restraint, gentleness, and compassion. Let love be the rhythm of your day, not adrenaline, not performance, not perfection. Let love teach your feet to walk slower, your voice to soften, your eyes to see deeper. There is no hurry in heaven, and there is no rush in the heart of God. So walk today not to catch up to expectations, but to keep in step with grace. You may not notice it, but every time you choose patience, something inside you is healed. When you pause instead of snapping, when you breathe instead of blaming, when you soften instead of shutting down, you are not just being kind to others. You are creating space for your own soul to grow. You are forming the heart of Christ within yourself. Slowly, moment by moment, and though no one may see it, heaven sees it, and God smiles. Because love, real, God-shaped love, is patient, not just with others, but with you too. Patience doesn't mean staying silent when something matters. It doesn't mean letting people hurt you without boundaries. But it does mean learning when to speak with truth wrapped in gentleness. It means learning when to wait, when to step back, when to say less, when to trust more, and most of all, it means learning to love people who are still learning how to love themselves. You don't need to be perfect to love patiently. You just need to stay close to the one who is. You need to start your day not with the pressure to perform, but with the posture of presence. Sit with God for a moment longer. Listen before you act. Be still before you decide. Love is not built in the rush. It is built in the quiet. Slow, sacred space where you invite heaven to dwell in your heart before anything else. There is power in the pause. When the world says go faster, love says slow down. When the moment says react, love says reflect. When anxiety says you need to fix this now, love says you are allowed to wait, to pray, to listen. And in that space of waiting, miracles grow. Not always visible, not always dramatic, but deep, lasting, true. Maybe the person who needs your patience today is not someone else. Maybe it's you. Maybe you've been frustrated with your progress. Maybe you've been hard on yourself for not getting over things faster, for still struggling with the same emotions, for not being where you thought you'd be by now. Let that go. Give yourself the permission to be human. God does not rush your healing. He is patient with your process, and He invites you to be patient too. Let every step today be a conversation with God. Let every interruption be an invitation to grace. Let every moment that challenges your patience be a moment that draws you closer to the patient heart of Christ. He does not measure you by speed. He measures you by love. And love is patient. So walk slower, talk softer, judge less, trust more. You do not need to finish everything today. You do not need to solve every problem this hour. What you need is to love with the kind of patience that reflects heaven. And you are not alone in this. The Spirit is within you. The one who waits with you, walks with you, speaks through you, breathes life into your patience. He is near, and He will not leave you. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do today is simply wait. Wait before you respond. Wait before you assume. Wait before you give up on someone, including yourself. Patience isn't weakness, it's courage. It's what love looks like when it's not flashy or loud. It's what love sounds like when no one is clapping. It's what love feels like when it chooses to believe the best, even when it would be easier to walk away. And when you practice it, heaven draws near, not because you've done something dramatic, but because you've opened your heart to the slow, sacred rhythm of divine love. You don't need to have all the answers right now. You don't need to know how everything will turn out. All you need is the willingness to stay close to God, one moment at a time. He will shape your patience not through pressure, but through presence. He will grow your love not through guilt, but through grace. And He will carry you through the parts of today that feel too heavy to handle alone. Even if others don't understand your silence, even if they rush past your slowness, even if they misread your calm for weakness, let your peace come from knowing you are walking with God. You are choosing to love the way He loves, not rushed, not reactive, not resentful, but patient, and that matters. That transforms things. That bears fruit in the long run. So today, don't be afraid to walk at the pace of peace. Don't be afraid to respond slowly, to give others the benefit of the doubt, to pause before you push. This is how you become love. Not all at once, not perfectly, but faithfully, patiently, a little more today than yesterday. And that is enough. May your words today be gentle. May your tone be soft. May your reactions be slow. May your heart remain open. And may your spirit remember this: you are not loving on your own. You are loving with God, through God, in God, and the patience you practice today will echo into eternity, because love never ends. And love is patient. Love is kind. That may seem simple, but in a world that celebrates sharpness, speed, and self-defense, kindness is a revolution. It is not weakness. It is not passivity. It is strength wrapped in gentleness. It is courage dressed in humility. When love is kind, it sees the human before the flaw, the pain behind the anger, the soul behind the silence. And today, the world needs your kindness more than your perfection. There is someone around you today who is carrying something invisible. They may smile, but inside they are exhausted. They may speak loudly, but inside they feel ignored. They may appear strong, but inside they are breaking. You won't always see it, but your kindness can reach it. A soft word, a sincere question, a warm glance. These are not small gestures. They are bridges to healing. They are how the heart of Christ touches the hidden wounds of those around you, through you. You don't need to do something grand today. You don't need to save the world. Just be the warmth someone needs. Be the pause in someone's chaos. Be the safe space in someone's storm. Be the kind voice they didn't know they needed to hear. This is how you love like God, not by doing everything, but by doing one thing with deep kindness. And let's be honest, kindness isn't always easy, especially when you are tired, or stretched thin, or when others are rude, thoughtless, or hurtful. That's when kindness becomes a sacrifice. That's when it becomes holy. Because to love kindly in the face of cruelty is to choose heaven's way, not the world's way. It is to reflect a love that keeps no record of wrongs. A love that lays down pride to lift up peace. You are not called to fake kindness. You are called to embody it, to let it flow from the love you've received, not as a performance, but as a natural overflow of God's heart in yours. When you are rooted in His kindness, you won't need to force it. You'll simply reflect it, and it will look like tenderness in your words, softness in your tone, calm in your responses, and compassion in your eyes. So start small, smile sincerely, listen with presence, speak with gentleness. Let someone go ahead in line. Let someone off the hook. Let someone feel seen, and not because they earned it, but because love is kind. Because Christ was kind to you. Because you remember the days when one kind word changed everything. Be that word for someone else today. Kindness doesn't need a spotlight. It isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself, but it leaves a mark. People may forget what you said or what you did, but they won't forget how you made them feel. That's the legacy of kindness, quiet, lasting, sacred, and the beauty of it is this: anyone can give it. You don't need a platform. You just need a heart that listens, a spirit that notices, a willingness to show up with softness instead of sarcasm, with mercy instead of judgment, with gentleness instead of pride. God's kindness was never loud, but it changed everything. He healed with a touch. He forgave with a word. He sat with the outcasts, shared meals with the broken, and washed the feet of those who didn't understand Him. That is what kindness does. It steps down, stoops low, reaches out, and serves without seeking applause. And if you're walking with Christ today, then kindness is not optional. It is the fruit of being near Him. You don't always know who is watching. You don't always know whose faith is hanging by a thread, who is praying for a sign, who is asking God, "Do you still see me?" And then, you smile. You hold the door. You speak their name. You slow down enough to ask how they're really doing. And that simple act becomes sacred, because through you, God answers someone's silent prayer. Through you, love becomes visible. Kindness is often inconvenient. It will ask you to stop when you'd rather keep moving. It will ask you to listen when you're in a rush. It will ask you to give when you feel like you have nothing left. But it is in those moments, when kindness costs something, that it reveals its power. Because love that is kind doesn't give from overflow alone, it gives from trust. Trust that God will refill what you pour out. Trust that no act of kindness is wasted in the kingdom. So today, when you feel unseen, be someone who sees. When you feel unheard, be someone who listens. When you feel unloved, be someone who loves anyway. Not because it's easy, but because it's holy. Because God's kindness has carried you through your worst moments. And now, through you, He wants to carry someone else. You don't need to change the whole world today, but you can change one moment for someone. You can soften one harsh edge. You can lighten one burden. You can give one person the gift of being seen, heard, and honored with gentleness. And that may be the most powerful thing you do all day, because kindness, when rooted in God's love, multiplies far beyond what you can see. You may never know how deeply your kindness matters. You may never see the seeds it plants or the healing it begins. But heaven sees, and God, who is love, delights in every small act that carries His heart into the world. Every kind word is a reflection of Christ. Every merciful response is a quiet echo of the cross. Every patient smile is a reminder that love is still alive in this world, because it's alive in you. So don't underestimate what you carry. Don't downplay the warmth in your spirit, the tenderness in your voice, the way your presence makes others feel safe. This is how love speaks. Not always through sermons or grand gestures, but through the kindness that flows from a heart shaped by grace. And every time you choose that kind of love, you are doing something eternal. Let your kindness today be intentional. Let it be the way you answer tension, the way you speak into silence, the way you hold space for others without fixing them. You don't need to have the right words. You just need to show up with a heart that is soft and steady. That is enough. That is holy. And when you're tired, when kindness feels like too much, when you feel empty, return to the one who is kind beyond measure. Let Him refill you. Let Him remind you of all the ways He has been tender with your soul. His kindness is your source. His compassion is your covering. His gentleness is your guide. And from that place, you can be the warmth someone else needs today. Because love is kind, and when you love kindly, you bring a little more heaven into the world. There are wounds you carry that words haven't touched yet. Some of them go back years. Some of them happened recently. Some were caused by people you trusted, some by strangers, and some, if you're honest, by yourself. And some days, you feel like you've forgiven, like it's behind you, but then something small triggers it again, and the ache returns. And in that moment, forgiveness doesn't feel like a prayer, it feels like a battle. But love forgives, not because it forgets the pain, not because it pretends everything was okay, but because forgiveness is freedom. It's the key that unlocks the door to peace. And today, God isn't asking you to minimize what hurt you. He's asking you to bring it into the light, to stop carrying it alone, to stop holding it so tightly that your hands can't receive anything else. He knows what was done to you, and He knows what it's costing you to still carry it. Forgiveness is not saying what happened was right. It's not saying it didn't hurt. It's not saying you have to trust again or put yourself back in the same place. Forgiveness is saying, I choose love over bitterness. I choose to let go because I refuse to let this wound define me. And you don't have to do that all at once. You can take it one breath at a time, one prayer at a time, one whisper of surrender at a time. That's where healing begins. Sometimes the hardest person to forgive is the one who never apologized. The one who doesn't even know, or doesn't care, how deeply they hurt you. But your healing is not dependent on their remorse. It's dependent on your release. You forgive not because they deserve it, but because God has forgiven you, and He wants you to live free, unshamed, unburdened, unbound by what happened, and sometimes, the person you need to forgive is yourself. For things you regret, for moments when you didn't act in love, for mistakes you can't go back and fix. But hear this: God is not holding your failures over your head. He is not waiting for you to punish yourself. He is waiting for you to come home, to let Him wash over your shame with His mercy, to let His love remind you that you are more than your past. Forgiveness is not a feeling, it's a choice. And often, it's a choice you have to make again and again. But each time you do, your heart gets lighter, the walls begin to fall, the poison begins to drain, and in that open space, love has room to grow, a love that is strong enough to look pain in the eye and say, "You do not get the final word." There's a quiet power in choosing to forgive when everything inside you wants to hold on. When your pride says they don't deserve it, when your pain says you can't risk being vulnerable again, when your fear says you'll lose a part of yourself if you let go. But love doesn't seek revenge. Love doesn't keep score. Love doesn't wait for the perfect apology to extend grace. Love releases. Love surrenders. Love forgives, even when it hurts, because love trusts that God will bring justice. That God will heal what is broken. That God will restore what was lost in a way that your bitterness never could. You may not be able to forget what happened, but you can choose what you do with the memory. You can choose to hold it as a reminder of God's mercy rather than a source of resentment. You can choose to let it soften you, not harden you. You can choose to allow the pain to be transformed into compassion for others who are hurting. This is what redemption looks like, not erasing the past, but redeeming it through grace. There is someone today who may never know how deeply they hurt you. And yet, you are called to love them, not necessarily with closeness, not with blind trust, but with a heart that no longer wishes them harm, with a spirit that no longer ties its peace to their behavior. That kind of forgiveness is holy. That kind of forgiveness is supernatural. And that kind of forgiveness sets you free. You are not weak for choosing to forgive. You are strong, because it takes strength to surrender your right to be angry. It takes strength to rise above the wound. It takes strength to say, "I will not be defined by this." And it takes strength to believe that God is still writing beauty into your story. Even through the chapters that hurt, let today be a day when you open your clenched fists, when you stop rehearsing the pain and start releasing it, when you stop asking why and start asking God to bring peace. He is not asking you to forget what happened. He is asking you to remember who you are, a child of grace. A soul made new, a heart that can breathe again. Because it has chosen to forgive, you don't have to feel ready. Forgiveness is not about waiting until the pain is gone. It's about choosing to trust that love is greater than pain. It's about saying, "God, I don't know how to do this, but I'm willing to begin. I'm willing to let you heal what I cannot. I'm willing to let go of what's been poisoning my peace." And in that moment, heaven moves, grace enters, mercy begins to breathe again in the places you thought were closed forever. Forgiveness doesn't change the past, but it changes your future. It opens your heart to love again, to breathe again, to live again, because as long as you are holding bitterness, you are not free, and you were made for freedom. So whisper it if you must. Cry it if you need to. Let the tears come, let the memories rise, and then, Hand them to the one who bore your wounds on the cross. He knows what betrayal feels like. He knows what rejection feels like. He knows the weight of injustice and the sting of silence. And still, He forgave. And because He forgave, you can too, not perfectly, not easily, but with Him, through Him, in Him. You are not meant to carry every wound. You are meant to lay them down. And today, love invites you to do just that, to love enough to release, to love enough to stop punishing yourself, to love enough to stop replaying the pain, to love enough to move forward, not with a closed heart, but with an open one, not with fear, but with faith. May today be the day you take a deep breath and whisper, "I forgive," even if the person never hears it, even if it doesn't make the past disappear, even if you have to say it again tomorrow. Let forgiveness become a daily rhythm, a holy practice, a quiet revolution in your soul. Because love forgives, even when it hurts, and in that forgiveness, you will find the healing you've been longing for. Love never fails. That's not just a poetic phrase, it's a promise. A promise that when everything else breaks, love remains. When plans fall through, when people let you down, when your strength gives out, love still stands. Because love is not an emotion that fades. Love is a person. Love is Christ, and Christ never fails. Today, let that truth become the anchor of your heart. Not your to-do list, not your reputation, not your ability to be good enough or productive or emotionally strong. Just this: love never fails. And if you choose to live in that love today, to walk in it, to speak from it, to lead with it, then no matter what happens, your day is not wasted. It is a witness to the kind of life that heaven is writing through you. You may feel small, you may feel unseen, you may feel like your quiet efforts don't matter in the noise of this world. But love is never wasted. Every time you choose compassion over criticism, patience over pride, forgiveness over fury, you are building something eternal. Maybe no one claps, maybe no one says thank you, maybe no one even notices, but God sees, and heaven smiles, because you're choosing what cannot be shaken, what cannot be destroyed, what will still remain when all else is gone. Love, let this be the day when you don't give up on softness, when you don't trade your gentleness for speed or power or applause. Let this be the day when you say, even if they don't change, all love, even if the world doesn't reward me, all love, even if it costs me something, all love, because love is not a feeling, it's a fire, a holy fire that purifies, heals, restores, and reveals the face of God in a broken world. You may not always feel like loving. You may grow weary, but love never asks for your perfection. It simply asks for your yes, your willingness, your surrender, to be used as a vessel, to be filled and refilled by the one who is love itself. And when you feel like you have nothing left to give, He will carry you. He will become your love, because love never fails. And maybe the greatest way you can love today is simply to stay open, to keep your heart from closing, to keep your spirit from shutting down, to keep your hands ready to serve, your eyes ready to see, your voice ready to speak life. It's not about doing more. It's about being love where you are, with the people in front of you, in the conversations you're called to have, in the interruptions that become invitations to grace. Let your life today be a witness to the truth that love endures. That love heals, that love transforms, not in theory, but in practice, not in distant theology, but in daily choices. Let love shape how you enter the room, how you respond when hurt, how you stay when others leave, how you lift someone who has forgotten their own worth. And when the day ends, and you wonder if it mattered, remember this: every act of love echoes beyond the moment. It moves in ways you may never see. It plants seeds in hearts you may never speak to again. It changes atmospheres. It silences shame. It reflects Christ. And that is never wasted. So as you begin this new day, begin with love. When in doubt, choose love. When unsure, stay in love. When tired, return to love. And let your heart know this: no matter what happens today, if you loved, you did not fail. Thank you for beginning this morning with me in prayer. I hope you'll carry this with you today. You are loved, and you are called to love. Whatever happens, walk with kindness, with patience, and with the trust that God is always with you. If this prayer brought peace to your heart, don't forget to subscribe so we can keep praying together each morning. May God bless you today. See you in the next morning prayer.